Most people eat chocolate every week, but almost everything they know about it is completely wrong. Today I'll be busting 10 of the biggest chocolate myths. How many of these do you know were wrong? The first myth is that white chocolate isn't real chocolate. Well, it's just wrong, and let me tell you why. White chocolate is chocolate. It's made from this stuff, which is cocoa butter. Yes, if you have a darker looking bar, it's going to have cocoa beans in there as well, but both of these come from the same source, which is the cocoa pod. And so, of course, it's chocolate. But what really makes me annoyed is that my white chocolate's got more cocoa than both of these bars put together. That's a joke, right? How can these be called chocolate and yet my white chocolate isn't? The next one is that chocolate has always had this stuff, palm oil in it. Well, that's just simply not true. A lot of the big players are saying that the recipes haven't changed, and yet we know it has because the flavor's changed. It's because they're replacing cocoa butter with this stuff. Way cheaper, better for their profits. The Incas would be turning their graves to think that this is what makes up chocolate these days. This is absolute travesty. Palm oil doesn't need to be in there, it's just another myth that it does. This next myth might surprise you, and that's that cacao doesn't all grow on trees. Yeah, it sounds ridiculous, right? But it's true. It turns out that these days, cacao's gonna be growing less and less in the tree and more in a lab. And that's because the big chocolate companies save themselves a fortune by doing it that way, genetically modified, than actually paying the poor farmers in Africa and South America. So soon this Frankenstein chocolate will be on all the shelves, and this will be a thing of the past. I argue with people on this myth like about 3 times a week. Chocolate being kept in the fridge. No, it shouldn't. Let me tell you why. It's because of these guys. They've changed the way we look at chocolate forever. Now, because this is made of other oils, not just cocoa butter, it means it melts at a lower melt point, and that's why it's better in the fridge. And the thing you taste straight away when you eat this is a massive amount of sugar. Because of course, over half this bar is sugar. It's a sugar bar with a little bit of chocolate flavouring. But real chocolate shouldn't be in the fridge, and I'll tell you why. When this is at room temperature and melting on your tongue, it means you get all the flavour of the cacao being released slowly, and that's what you're tasting. Same with dark chocolate as well. If you put it in the fridge, it'll actually come out pretty tasteless. And that's because this doesn't have the sugar, it has the flavour. And it's the real flavour of cacao that you want to be tasting at room temperature. And of course, let alone the other problems you get with putting it in the fridge. When you put this in the fridge, you get condensation on it. That causes bloom as well. That can ruin your bar. So really, it's best, unless it's a baking hot day, to leave this out of the fridge. Next myth, chocolate doesn't expire. Well, these 2 bars are over 30 years old. Should you have a look? Now, this is a collector's edition that comes from the time of the Second World War. I'm not going to cut that one up, but I'm going to cut this one up. And just to prove that it's really old, look at the best before date. 15th of October, 1994. Let's open her up. Bearing in mind, the air in this bag is 32 years old. Seen better days, maybe? Collapsed in the back? Let's cut it open. Smells foisty. I wouldn't eat it. So chocolate definitely does go out of date. Next myth, tempering chocolate's all about just the way it looks. No, it's a more fundamental thing. Let me explain. Chocolate's made up of these particles called triglycerides. It comes from the cocoa butter. They are tri because there's 3 little arms to them, and the way they lock together and crystallize is the shape and the form of the chocolate. So for instance, if you, don't temper, they'll lock together randomly all over the place, just like snowflakes are formed, and then it'll make the chocolate become these big balls. It's really weird how that happens, but chocolate can sometimes not temper and become all chalky, bally, and weird. By tempering at the right temperature, we lock them all together perfectly to give that snap. And that's what you're looking for. The chocolate is fitting together perfectly at molecular structure, so it gives it that lovely snap, shine, and it also is nice when it melts in your mouth. And that is a key difference between our chocolate and fake chocolate. Fake chocolate is made out of oils that actually are liquid at room temperature, whereas cocoa butter is solid at room temperature and it melts perfectly at 37 degrees in your mouth. Next myth, that chocolate is packed with caffeine. You might be surprised by this one, but it's also wrong. There's 33 times more caffeine in a coffee than there is in a milk chocolate. And it's about 10% of the caffeine in a dark bar. Yes, it's a bit higher, but it's way less than a cup of coffee. Yes, there's a little bit of caffeine, but there's hardly any. It's not going to keep you up at night. However, if you do want caffeine, this is for you. It's the espresso bar. We actually grind espresso beans in this. This is way higher in caffeine. Don't have it after 8. Chocolate causes acne? I don't think so. Let me tell you why. Yes, some people have a problem with lactose, and I agree that could cause acne, and of course lactose is in my bars, but really it's about dietary factors and it's mostly genetic. If your parents had acne, you're more likely to get acne, and unfortunately, so are your kids. It's not the bar's fault, they're your friend. Next myth, that dark chocolate is always healthier for you. Yes, there are some that are kind of on the good side, there's still about 30% sugar, but other bars are actually worse than all the milk chocolate put together. This bar, the vast majority of it, is not cacao, it's sugar. Just because it says dark chocolate doesn't mean it's healthy at all. Myth 10, that white chocolate's a byproduct from making milk chocolate. I don't even know where this one comes from. It's mad. When we make our white chocolate, it's made from this stuff, cocoa butter, which is raw, organic, delicious. And that's what gives it its colour, as you can see here. We also add into it the cream, the milk and the whey powder to bring down the lactose and increase the protein. Now, most companies at this point would then pack it full of sugar, making it very, very low in cocoa butter. We don't do that. We make sure this does the talking. The sweeteners just bring out that sweetness and flavour. But this is not a byproduct of anything. This is crafted specifically to make it that delicious. On the other hand, if I'm making a milk chocolate bar, it'll be completely different. I'll be instead doing the same process with the cocoa butter, but adding these, which is of course the nibs of the cocoa bean, and that's what gives it its dark colour. And also I'd say a little bit of bitterness. This tends to be creamier, this tends to be a little bit more bitter, and that's because it's the taste of the beans you can taste. So both are crafted differently, but equally. So there you go, there are the 10 myths busted. If you knew any of those, or if you weren't sure about some of them, comment below. But can I just say, the reason I do this job is because I absolutely love chocolate. Chocolate is a magical and scientific thing that comes together to make something truly wonderful. And I feel like I'm fighting against an industry that's basically trying to destroy things or make it cheaper for them to manufacture and worse for you. So if chocolate's about the real deal, let's get rid of the myths and let's go back to what should be real chocolate. If you like that journey, if you want to follow along, then please subscribe to this channel and give us a cheeky like. Thanks very much.